What's good? This is going to be another video going on about desire and inspire and how those two are at odds but also can bring about the fruition of the other. But it depends which spectrum you're on, of course. And we know that basically desire is the soul's attachment to the flesh, in the sense that um, the soul produces emotion. You got that Cancer energy, that cardinal water. So you're creating an emotion, and then as it progresses and develops through the ego expression, and lifestyle, and then in relation to other people, that then forms what we have, that scorpionic fixed water that brings us down to the depths of that emotion. So there's like a light expression of emotion, but then there's a subconscious, even unconscious expression of that emotion that is often not brought to light except for like behind closed doors type situations, and in secrecy, and occult type scenarios, just hidden from view, um, and shadow based self identifications that, essentially, when you think about it, so if you break down the word desire, um, etymologically, you get D and desire, and D, after doing the research on this, means basically to move down from, which you could also interpret as to fall. So to fall, and then desire actually meant, going back to Greek interpretations and all that shit, was a heavenly body or a star, or you can consider it a light. So literally, desire means down from or fallen light. So essentially, desire is to fall from heaven in a way, or to fall from grace. These would be religious ways of explaining it, but we know heaven is the mind, and the stars and the celestial bodies in this realm that we're dealing with are just archetypal manifestations of the mind that we've constructed for this reality. So those are like our archetypes, or our archons, that we manifested for ourselves through the desire to even be here. So, like, to be born. So the desire to be born as a spirit was us trying to become a soul. So through that desire, you fell from the heavens, or the light consciousness, the awareness. Um, you fell from that light into this lesser light, this formation physical vessel that has its own nature to it, aside from your spirit. So the soul would be the intermediary between spirit and flesh. So it's the psychical component, whereas the flesh is the physical component, and then you have the spirit with the, which would be the pneumatic component. If you're going by Gnostic or, um, Platonic, Neoplatonism type explanations, but the psychic is this like purgatory dimension, almost like astral. So desire actually exists within the soul more than it is the flesh. So in my previous videos, I was talking about like 2/3 of our experience is our psychological placebo mind and emotions, our thoughts and feelings, producing like a astral psychic fabric to go over the physical or the physical experience, which is 1/3 of reality itself. So you'd basically be at, um, your psyche. Sorry, I got distracted. There's a person right over there. But yeah, okay. So desire to fall from heaven. We fell from our higher mind to get into this body and this mind, and then we can fall from this body and this mind into our deeper animalistic natures. So desire is like death for the soul and the spirit, and the flesh ends up being more resonant with desire than it is the spirit, because the flesh is death. And that's what you have to understand, is that there is no life in this body or this form or this flesh itself unless my spirit and soul is animating it. So it's like your anima and your animus. Same with nature. Nature would not be blooming with anything if there was no spirit filling that vessel. So physicality, the denser the dimension, the more it's in decay as a manifestation. So this world itself is sustained through the life of the spirit, but it's a dead world. This is what you got to get. You are life. Your body isn't life. Your body is death, because this thing has an expiration date. It's going to die at some point. So the reason why we have desire is because we're going to die at some point. So desire is death. It's one with death. But death doesn't mean like the scary Halloween version. It's more transformation of the soul and emotion being like cycled and transmuted to the point where it descends and then has to ascend up again. So you're going down to the depth of where that emotion is, which would be the death of that emotion. And then you're going to bring that shit back to life, reborn in the spirit. So that's where your soul is like, has these higher inspiration based emotions. So like you're now desiring to be inspired. So instead of a desire coming from the flesh for more physical, material gratification, pleasure and pain based dynamics going on, now your desire is for the spirit, the desire for God. So it's almost like your body itself becomes like the symbol of sacrifice for God. This is what it means by being a human sacrifice esoterically, not in the physical sense where you're like sacrificing humans. You have to understand that metaphysically, your body is dying. So your body's dying, and that energy that it's producing metaphysically is like this sacrificial component that the spirit can then utilize and bring into wisdom. So everything you're doing here, including your death, is utilized by the spirit when you desire the spirit. But if you don't desire the spirit, then it's like you're going to be inspired for desire, and that's a spirit foreign to you, filling you to deepen that desire closer towards the material death spectrum. And going back to like Gnostic and Neoplatonic theories, you would get the description of types of humans that exist here in this realm, and you would get hylics, which are materially oriented, ignorant beings here, that their souls are asleep and they're basically slaves of desire and dominated by their passions. So this is like an unwise spirit. This is like a little spirit that's just born here and just thinks this is it. And when they die, that's it. So, and then psychic beings are like soul beings. They're connected to their soul and everything, but just because you're psychic doesn't mean you're spiritual, or that you've integrated your psychic component with the spirit. So that's like you haven't reunited with God spiritually. Even though you're psychic, you're aware that there's a spiritual dimension to life. You're still in the 6. So for me, spirit is 9. Then you would have 6 being the psychic dimension, and then 3 is like the hylic material being. So that's like energetic, and then you would have like I guess you could say magnetic, and then you would have above that like electric, so electromagnetic energy. And us as a humanity are one being electromagnetically, but individually we occupy different spaces. So you may be a pneumatic being, a very spiritual being, and that means that you're walking here with that original awareness. So as you're in the body, you're filled with electromagnetic energy, and that is your life force, almost like resurrecting this body through your life. So the body is not spiritual, but you can make it spiritual. Just like the mind, you basically have to create the space for this to be conditioned to become a spiritual symbol, that being your body and your representation as a being. And that's like, practically speaking, in real life, being a person of high integrity and well-rounded character, and you've like developed yourself fully. um, so yeah, that's a lot of what I'm trying to get at here, but this video probably deserves a part 2, and I might take some better notes. But yeah, let's just review here. So desire is basically to fall from grace, or to fall from heaven, that being the mind. So you have this spirit in your mind's eye, and that's a original thought, and then it descends into your feelings and becomes desire. So that's the same thing with like your spirit is creating the consciousness. Your consciousness is not the spirit, but your spirit is creating the consciousness through the mind, by using the mind. And the mind isn't just the brain, but this brain is the physical imitation of the mind. So as that descends, now you're a fallen angel, you're a fallen light. And that fallen angel can become demonic if it basically indulges in those animalistic desires to the point where it forgets its original thought. So its original sense of self and its identification with God and the spirit. So I mean, this it's a topic for debate, but I would say damn near every demon was once an angel. Like, so that's when they say, oh, 1/3 of the angels fell from heaven or whatever. Yeah, they became demons. So your thoughts became feelings, which then became desires, and those desires forgot God, and they were like, "Fuck, this is what we're gonna work with, and we're gonna indulge to our best ability and bring about the highest form of that shit." So it's like the highest form of some low frequency, like a high vibration of a super low frequency. It's like, so yeah. And inspire is to go into the spirit. So you're inspired to create. And when that desire, you desire to be inspired, that's the correct function of desire on this realm. Because then it comes back to the being in the body but not of the body. So you can experience desire, and that doesn't mean that you have to indulge in it physically in the physical expression. So that's like the same thing with like cultivating Jing or your sexual vital life force, is you don't want to kill it off to the point where you're just repressing it, not allowing it to be there, because it's still, even though it's distant, far away, cold from the light of the original spirit, that can still be utilized as a resource for your spirit. So you have that dense sexual energy here. A classic Christian point of view would be like, oh, rebuke it as Satan and flee from it, where they're basically only getting half the picture, is that that is something that you have to transform, and through transforming that, then it's gonna be fuel for your ascent upward again. So um yeah, kind of on a stream of consciousness right now, but you have to use your lower base natures as a resource. You can't just ignore them, because then you're ignoring a third of your life, and that's actually giving away some of your power to beings and demons outside of you, whether psychic or physical,